Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast. Our primary objective is to motivate and inspire our listeners to never quit. The reality of life is simple. We all fall. We all fail. At times, we get knocked down. The question is, do we get back up? Are we stronger? Are we better prepared to attain the maximum of our potential? Thank you for joining our No Quit tribe. As you go for your greatness today, never quit. And remember, we rise by lifting others up. Welcome to episode number 443 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is Rise to the Occasion. Our quote of the day comes to us from Kobe Bryant. Everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise. I wanted to wish our listeners a very happy new year. We hope that 2024 is off to a great start for you. With the new year upon us, we have a request for you. If you have yet to subscribe to our show or left us a 5-star review, we would really appreciate it if you could take 2 minutes to do so. It might not seem like much, but those reviews and subscriptions help our podcast reach a much wider audience. Thank you. It is a privilege to have our guest on today's show. Not only is Sean Degnan one of my closest friends, but he is one of the most genuine people I know when it comes to true friendship and supporting other people with zero expectations in return. I know you will enjoy today's episode. Sean, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Thanks for having me on, brother. I'm excited to chop it up with you.
Appreciate it. As you know, the first question we ask is, are you ready to positively impact at least one person today?
Oh, yeah, you betcha. Ready to positively impact many.
So I know you have a no-quit story that you've shared, not a lot, but you shared it recently on the No Snooze podcast, and I wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind briefly sharing that story with our audience to kick off today's episode.
Yeah, definitely. So I love the whole no-quit mentality, the no-snooze mentality, just the don't give up mentality. I think a lot of people just in their lives, whether it be their personal life, their career, family, everything, you're going to experience hard times. And, there's two ways to look at it. And you're either going to crumble under the pressure or you're going to rise to the occasion and take that adversity and use it to propel you forward. So I've learned that the hard way a few times, and I've been able to kind of channel all of that. The particular story you're talking about, I believe, is my anxiety attack I had, which was a pretty troubling time for me back a couple of years ago, post-college. And I was experiencing anxiety without really knowing it. And I was battling some inner demons. I had some stuff going on in my relationship at the time. I wasn't really taking care of my personal health. I wasn't sleeping much. Was working out at all different hours and not really nourishing my body the proper way as well. And that all kind of came to a head. I was driving home from Boston one night. It was a Sunday night. I was driving down 91 South. I was in my 2008 blue Dodge Durango that I had for 11 years. And I started experiencing this tingling sensation in my body. And basically before I knew it, the whole left side of my body had gone numb. And I was on the highway and, I was in the fast lane doing 75, 80 miles an hour. And before I knew it, I'm looking down and the speedometer is slowly going down to 50, to 40, 30, 20. And I'm at like 10 miles an hour on the highway, not really aware of my surroundings and what's going on. And I kind of snapped out of it for a second while I'm experiencing this crazy just attack that I didn't really know what was happening. And I was able to pull over off the side of the highway, get to a gas station and open my car door. I fell out of the car door. I couldn't speak. I couldn't really breathe much. And I crawled into this gas station, which was right in New Haven, Connecticut. And I get into this gas station. The attendant was sitting there and he was like, listen, man, like we got to get you somewhere. And I'm kind of just looking up at him like, help me, without really being able to say it. So long story short, got me to an ambulance, got rushed to the hospital, got all the vitals taken, got my IV in and everything. The doctor comes in and he's like, son, you experienced some serious trauma here. And I was like, yeah, did I have a heart attack? Is that what just happened? He's like, no. He's like, you had an anxiety attack. And I'm like, anxiety? What the hell is anxiety? And this was 2015, 16, whatever year it was, where I know now in today's society, it's a pretty big word and there's a lot of focus on anxiety and mental health and things like that. But you're talking, mid 2010s, and it wasn't that big of a topic. So I learned the hard way that uh, I was kind of battling some things inside that I needed to address, and that anxiety and depression and things like that all kind of just came to fruition when I had this pretty traumatic incident happen to me.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I've known you for a while now, and you and I have shared the stage, and you shared that story before. And for me, the takeaway is, if you don't take care of yourself in many different ways, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, there's so many different things that we don't realize that in essence are all connected. So I appreciate you touching on that. A follow-up question I have is, what were the steps prior to that in regards to how did you get from being in the hospital talking to the doctor to getting that help, and just more importantly, taking yourself to that next level?
Yeah, so I think in my life, I basically was an athlete. I was an achiever. I was a go-getter my whole life, and I had to kind of shift my mindset when I was done with sports to business and to my personal life, outside of scoring touchdowns and tackling people on the football field and winning wrestling matches. So I think that in your life, you're going to have a lot of new identities. And I was just talking to a buddy this morning about that, about, you're going to have different stages in your life, different phases in your life, and you have to adapt and you have to rise to the occasion to break into that new mold of who you're going to be. And I decided to really invest in my personal development. I started getting into podcasts. I started doing cold showers. I started going to different retreats and conferences and seminars and things like that, and just really investing financially and also with my time on exactly what I thought I needed at the time. And that was the kind of the spark of my journey on this personal development world. I was asked in 2018 to go back and speak to my alma mater, Springfield College. And I spoke to the football team and the staff, and there was about 150 people there. And I was in a really dark place in my times in my life at that time, still in 2018, and I was battling with some recent losses in my life and things like that. And I was able to talk to my coach, who was one of my mentors in life, and I just said, what am I going to talk to these kids about? And he's like, well, you just talk about all the crazy stuff you've been through, all the crazy stuff you've put yourself through, all the bad decisions you've made, and how you've climbed out of those holes every time. And it kind of goes in line with the no quit mentality of just like, you're in bad positions in your life. You hit these rock bottoms at points, but if you decide to quit, there's nothing else. And as one of our favorite authors, John Maxwell, says, it's like, when you reach the finish line, you're finished. And you don't want to reach the finish line. You want to keep traveling down that road and on that journey. So I was able to kind of channel all that stuff and begin my public speaking career by using my adversities to propel me forward and pay it forward to others so they don't have to go down that same road, similar to what you do when you're speaking.
It's neat that you preface it that way, because similar to you talking to a friend earlier today, I was having conversation last week, and there's not a book that's out there which is greatness overnight, or success is easy, or become the best in 3 days or less. There's all these books, podcasts, like you said, seminars in regards to facing adversity, and it's how you face that adversity. And I think so many people miss the boat and look at it as success is all about greatness, and success is all about just having things come to you and working hard. Yes, there's that component of success and hard work, but it's what do you do when you fall? And it's that great Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And I think your story and going back to talk to your college, that's because your coach knew you and he knew that you were going through it. And I think some of the most successful people that we've looked up to in our life and friends we have in common, they've all faced those adversities, but it's how they face them and it's how they keep going.
Yeah, totally agree. I think there's a like-minded community that we've began to build over the last couple of years, and there's definitely common denominators, and that's one of them with the people that we tend to gravitate towards is they have that same attitude that we do towards quote unquote failure and adversity. You can't let that keep you down. You have to just use that as fuel to your fire and use that to propel you forward and burn that fuel to reach new heights.
Changing lanes here, wanted to give you just a minute to briefly, in your own words, just tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do today. Because I personally don't like, as you know, reading bios. I think it's a little bit, I don't want to say cheesy per se, but I think nobody tells their best story or their biography better than themselves. So if you could please share that with our listeners.
Yeah, so I'm a business owner, I guess you could say, entrepreneur, if you will. I own a commercial cleaning company. I've had that since 2017 with a partner from college that I knew, one of my best friends, and we ended up starting this company and doing basically everything under the sun. Him and I have built that to an operation that's pretty fluid and is kind of doing its thing on its own now, which is an awesome place to be at in a company. I also am part owner of the Sail House Restaurant in Tarrytown, which is a new restaurant down by the waterfront in Tarrytown. And there's a couple of partners that we have. We do new American food, seafood. We're about to redo our bars. We have a whole new aesthetic coming for 2024. I've got that going on. I also have a personal development summit that I'm co-hosting with Dave Regina in February, the ACE Summit, which is Action Cultivates Excellence. So that's a men's personal development summit and just kind of ties into all the stuff that we're speaking about today. Just growth, personal development, vulnerability, and kind of bridging the gap for men between vulnerability and masculinity.
Which I think is a very hard bridge because most people usually sit on one of the two sides. So I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and we'll touch on that and give you a chance at the end of the episode. If you had to define yourself, but you could only choose one word, what word would you choose?
I would say relentless. I think relentless is something that just kind of summarizes everything that I'm about. I was told recently by a family friend that when you want something, you go and get it, and I do pride myself in that. When I do set my eyes on something, I'm going to do everything I can to go after that goal and get it. And it's just kind of that relentless mentality. I think that has gotten me to where I am, and hopefully will continue to push me forward to where I want to go.
Would you rather have more time or more money?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would say more money. More money is something that would be able to free up my time and be able to allow me to maneuver, my lifestyle and just kind of what I want to do.
How do you personally define success, or what does success mean to you?
Success is everything to me. I think it's something that I'm always chasing. I've always chased in my life. I think it's for me kind of a land marker, if you will, just something that I'm always looking out towards, that I'm working towards. I would define success as reaching your fullest potential as an individual, whatever that means for you. If you're a school teacher, your kids getting the highest grades in the state. If you're an athlete winning the championship, if you're a restaurant owner, selling the most amount of cheeseburgers and crab cakes, whatever it is. So I think it's different for everyone, but whatever that full potential is that you have inside of you, achieving and reaching that.
Has your definition of success changed, or has your view of success changed since you graduated college to now?
Drastically. I think I've had to humble myself so many times. I've learned the hard way many times that my ego's gotten in the way of a lot of things and a lot of problems that I've caused for myself. I've had to humble myself and kind of just relook at what success means. It's not the glamour, it's not the fame, it's not, the status. It's more so of the journey. And it's kind of corny to say, like, oh, focus on the journey and not the end result and things like that. But it's actually true. I think I feel so fulfilled ever since quitting my last job and going full time into these other businesses because I'm taking a risk and it's not all peaches and cream. It's not all roses. There is moments of that, but I'm truly fulfilled every day that I'm working on these things that I get to help a team create and build.
You said something interesting. You said that I get to do, and I talk a lot about that concept of have to versus get to. And I think so many people, myself included, going back to the question I asked you about success, I looked over the last 5 or 10 years really a lot into the idea of these are things I have to do, or I have to do this each and every day. And when you focus the word have versus get, I think to me that's been a huge transition. Now I look at those things I get to do. And it's interesting because when you say that, a lot of people will kind of smirk and kind of roll their eyes because at the end of the day, there are those things that we don't love to do all the time. No one loves to pay bills and pay taxes and those type of things. But when you look at those things you get to do and you focus a little bit more of your attention on those things, I think it has a drastic improvement and almost that shift of mindset of really embracing it. And I think it's commendable that you spoke about it like that because I know you and I've seen what you've done over the last few years since we met many years back and how you've built what you're doing. And it hasn't been a trajectory of just ease and, hey, I started this business and, overnight I was a millionaire. I've seen the struggles. I've seen you have to do different things, working incredibly hard, long hours. So at the end of the day, for me, it's all about how you're doing those things. I know you're I want to say a creature of habit because sometimes people look at that as the wrong way, but wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind sharing your morning routine with our listeners.
Yeah, for sure. So this is something that, again, you asked before, has your definition of success changed? Similar to that, my morning routine has changed and, my daily habits and things like that. And I think if you're not changing, you're not adapting, you're not, growing, you're not going to really get anywhere. If you're not going to, challenge yourself and do something new, you're going to stay where you are and you're kind of just going to meet status quo. So my morning routine has changed a ton over the years. And there's been seasons of my life where I've been more into certain things than I am at other times. And I used to beat myself up about that, and I don't really do that anymore. I kind of just embrace what's going on, and I lean into what I feel like I need during that time. So right now, my morning routine as I wake up, I will drink in electrolyte salt water. I have that with a like a colon cleansing powder as well. Just kind of like internal gut health. First thing in the morning, do that. Brush my teeth. I will go out and get into the ice bath first thing after that. I will drink a little bit of caffeine, whether it be a coffee, a pre workout, something like that. And I'll get my routine going as far as for the workout. So while I'm in my ice bath, which has been a huge game changer in my life the last couple of years, I do my breath work. I do prayer in there while I'm outside. I'll kind of just ground myself. I recently lost my father, as you know, and that's kind of my time to speak with him while I'm praying. And it's a very peaceful time for me, and it's a time for me to connect with a higher power, to ground myself, and just kind of clear the thoughts for the day, and just get your mindset ready to attack. So I'll do that, hit the gym, I'll work out, and my newest addition, which my girlfriend Jackie got me for Christmas, was this sauna that we have in the apartment. And I'm not sure she loves the aesthetics of where it is and what it looks like, but it's been amazing the last few days getting into that after the workout and sweating it all out and kind of just getting grounded again after a high intense workout. So that's kind of what it is. Get my breakfast going, and then I usually am headed into the sale house or hopping on emails or whatever it is I got to do that morning.
The way you described and how it's adapted, and I couldn't agree more. And the words I use for I guess the stagnant component is being comfortable. And I think so many people get into that. I don't want to say a rut per se, because I think a rut has such a negative connotation. But to your point, I think in your different phases in life, doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a 9 to 5, doesn't matter if you're in the corporate world, if you're in charity world. I think we all have different phases before kids, with kids, when kids are gone. And I think some of the most successful people that you and I look up to have spoken about in some way, shape, or form how their life changes, i.e., morning routine, evening routine, health, fitness. And I think it's really important. And I think now in 2024, there's never been more focus on the health component. And it means so much to so many other people. And I'm going to put this on you because you had mentioned the passing of your father, which again, I know how it impacted you and your family, and I'm sorry for your loss. But everybody is young. I heard this the other day. I'm going to butcher it, but not everybody gets old, if that makes sense. And I heard it once,
Yeah.
and I went back on the podcast, and I when you can go back 30 seconds, or whatever, and I listened to it 2 more times after that. And the way the gentleman was talking about it, it just really hit me because that's what health is all about. And I'd sent you literally probably an hour ago, 2 hours ago, I sent you a message on Instagram where this older gentleman, he's a doctor, he said in an interview, for every hour you work out, you live 3 hours longer. So I just jokingly texted you and a bunch of other people that, I'm going to outlive many people, because my whole thing is, if that's true or not, I hope it is, because, I do long workouts. So if that's the case, I'm hoping at this point I get like an extra 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah. You got a long road ahead.
If you could go back to the 20-year-old version of yourself, so my assumption is that's probably sophomore, junior, senior year. If you could go back and give yourself just one piece of advice or one comment or idea or strategy, what would it be?
Really good question. I was a total just meathead lunatic in college, and I was a nice guy, and I had tons of friends, and I've always kind of been like that way, like just knowing everybody, and I kind of pride myself in that. But I had this just ego component, which I think helped me on the football field a lot. But in my personal life, I probably could have done a better job at, humbling myself and, losing the temper and things like that. I would say to kind of just, yeah, I guess I'm gonna steal Joe K, our buddy Joe K, Ice and Irons tagline that he's got for his hat that he gifted me recently, and it just says "Breathe, brother." And there's so much depth to that statement. Breathe, brother. Just calm down, relax. Like, things are gonna be okay. You don't always have to react, to things. You don't always have to jump the gun, and you don't always need to have an opinion on things either. And that's something I've learned through like the whole political spectrum over the last, 5-10 years. People always have an opinion, and there's so much just chaos in regards to politics because everyone feels they need to voice their opinion, this and that. There's some things in life that you don't have to have an opinion on, and it's fine not to argue about something. And it's okay to respect other people's opinions and their views and their values. It's not always going to be the same as yours. And in college, 20-year-old me didn't know that. But 32-year-old me, Sean, in 2024, definitely is aware of that, and respects that. So I would just tell him, breathe, brother.
I just finished my vision boards. I keep one in my home and keep one in my office. And one of the things I printed out is just 2 words: slow down. And I think it's falls in line with breathe, because I think being an athlete and a former athlete and coach myself, You're always on the go. And I used to look at that downtime as somebody else was getting ahead of me. But the reality is you have to take a break. Now, some people say, take a day, 2, 3 days. But the reality is the only way to recharge, and you being a former meathead and we both work out and lift, in essence, you tear your muscles when you lift hard and when you work hard, and you get stronger and you get bigger muscles and they grow because they then repair themselves. And I think it goes kind of hand in hand with what you said about breathe, just breathe, and then kind of what I say, slow down. Because I think so many of us, especially with this idea of keeping up with the Joneses, and you and I have had numerous conversations about social media and how so many people put these filtered images and they take 20 pictures and then edit it, and yeah, it looks great, but it's also not the reality. It's there's nobody that you and I know that's an overnight success where they went from starting a business on a Monday and then they retired on a Tuesday being a billionaire. Those are not real. So switching lanes here, going to ask you what we call our hot seat questions, and as you know, the only request we have of you is you spit out the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Last meal, what do you pick?
Chicken parm, vodka sauce, side of broccoli rabe, which is a new addition to this meal, a club soda, lemon, and lime.
Fa- favorite smell?
Favorite smell? Ooh, favorite smell. I would say eucalyptus.
I have to preface, we're pausing here for a second. Sean not only had one of the most specific answers for last meal, but I'm going to plug you here for a second. Sean is a foodie, and as a restaurant owner now, he also has a Instagram page, which you definitely should check out, Dining with Degs. So I have to say, we are now almost at 440 episodes, and you had the most specific answer ever when it came to the last meal.
I'm proud to say it.
All-time favorite sport?
Oh, I'm gonna say wrestling.
Favorite team?
New York Yankees.
Favorite movie?
Goodfellas.
Do you have a favorite book?
I feel like this might have changed. Nah, I'm gonna stick with my all-time 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson. I'm gonna stick with it.
Favorite app you use on your phone?
Favorite app? Oof. Does messages count?
Yeah.
All right, messages.
I know the answer to this, but I have to ask it. Favorite quote?
Everything worthwhile is uphill. John Maxwell.
What's that one song, no matter whenever you hear it, morning, afternoon, or evening, you just automatically tune it up and just rock out to it?
DMX, we right here.
I knew the answer to that as well. You and I talk a lot about different things in the personal development world, and I wanted to ask you, what does the word accountability mean to you?
Oof. Accountability, man. I feel like that's the foundation for growth. I think if you're not holding yourself accountable, if you don't have other individuals and community to hold you accountable, you're not going to have a solid foundation. Same way if you build a house on mud and sand without pouring that concrete down, the house is going to collapse. So I think accountability is that foundation for growth and success.
I like that. I don't think anybody has answered that question the way you did. We're always looking to add value to our listeners, so wanted to give you an opportunity. If there are one or two people that you follow on social media that maybe you'd like to introduce or potentially reintroduce to our listeners that put out positive, uplifting stuff that you really enjoy following yourself?
I love Inky Johnson. He's an incredible speaker. He's someone that I have a goal over the next 5 years to share a stage with. So putting that goal out here on the No Quit Living podcast, I want to share a stage with Inky Johnson over the next 5 years. He's incredible. He's definitely a mentor of mine. Ed Milet is another one, which I'm sure is a popular one on here. Love Ed and just everything he brings to the world. And I would say another one, just for me right now, is Michael Chernow. He's a guy that had a lot of success in the restaurant space in New York City and kind of transitioned his life into the personal development world. So he's someone that I highly relate to, and just think he puts some great stuff out there. So Michael Chernow for the third.
I love that. And what's the best way for our listeners to follow you, connect with you? And then for those that want to find out more about your companies, both the sale house as well as your cleaning company, but also please share where our listeners can find out more information about your incredible event that you are co-hosting with Dave Regina, I believe in New Paltz, New York in February, correct?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, Sean.Degnan on Instagram, the Sale House Tarrytown on Instagram, or the salehouse.tarrytown.com. My cleaning company, probably the best way to get us is on our website, the number one solutions.com, AI1solutions.com. And finally, the new men's personal development summit, acesanctuary.com, ACE acesanctuary.com. We've got tickets live on there now. We have sponsorship opportunities available. It's going to be over President's Day weekend, February 2024. We've got some amazing guest speakers coming. We've got some awesome workshops that we're going to do: meditation, sound healing, cold therapy, wellness shots, and IV drips. It's a whole culmination of the stuff that helps guys like you and me every day move forward, reach new heights, and it's something that we're looking to share with other people that are interested in helping their own growth track.
And last question we have for you is the same question we ask everybody, is if you have some parting words you'd like to leave with our listeners today.
I'll go back to my quote for one: everything worthwhile is uphill. There's just so much value in climbing adversity and leaning into adversity, and having that growth challenge. So everything worthwhile, in my opinion, is uphill. It's going to be a battle. And I would say a new one for me since the passing of my father is precious your time with your loved ones and value the present moment. It's something that we take for granted often, and unfortunately during tragedy you get reminded of this stuff, and it impacts others and kind of wakes people up. Value the present moment with your loved ones, and make sure you're doing something meaningful and fulfilling your purpose in life.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to end today's episode. And again, for our listeners, the men's retreat is this February. You can find out everything about it. And please connect, follow Sean. And my brother, I appreciate you. And I know that you and I will connect again soon.
I appreciate you, man. Shout out to the No Quit Living podcast. Love everything you're doing, man. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to episode number 443. Sean touched upon some really important topics today: adversity, challenges, personal development, and putting our ego to the side. In his parting words, Sean repeated his favorite quote: everything worthwhile is uphill. To conclude today's episode, I would like to echo those words and encourage you to keep going. Whatever you are looking to do, be, or accomplish in 2024, it won't be easy and it shouldn't be, but you can do it. We believe in you. And remember, we rise by lifting others up.
And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.